Hey everyone, welcome to another X-Wing 2.0 video. In this video we're going to look at the Scum and Villainy conversion kit unboxing that FFG did on their live stream. They go through with Alex, Max and Frank first picking out a couple of standout cards that they really like. Then they go through the generics, every ship, doing one generic card minimum and the dial for each ship. And then they do at the end some requests from the stream, so we get to see a little bit more. And that's about it. That's all you need to know. We're going to jump right in and watch this video.
And we get to my favorite faction, the scum of the earth.
The scum.
The scum of the galaxy.
Yeah.
And they have retained all of their deviousness and then some. Yep, and you get this extra pack that contains all of the new pilots. So if you already own as many fire sprays as you'll ever want, as many Fang fighters as you'll ever want.
But you want the spinning wings, come on.
Well, you do want the spin. I mean, let's be real. But regardless, you've got all the fire sprays you can handle. Well, you get the punch for Koshka Frost, a new pilot, Joy Rekoff, a new Fang pilot, and they are there and available to you for your first edition purchases. And I'll just spoil those because they have some pretty fun little abilities. And you also get the Marauder title. So this is Kath Scarlet's cool whip. And it is a strong pilot ability. Gives you some flexibility. Let's talk favorite scum.
Ah, yes.
Favorite scum upgrade cards, pilot cards.
Scum.
I'll just leave these up for a while.
Sure.
It'll be a minute.
Right.
I have a favorite ship for the Scum faction, and I was so happy to see it do so well at the very last first edition World Finals. It is, of course, the IG 2000, the IG 88.
All right, so which ones do you want?
I want to show them all.
Let's
just show them all.
Let's just do it all. All right,
yeah, I mean, here's the thing. It's the world's winning list.
You're right.
Let's spoil it. And the real reason we have to show them all is because I think that you have vastly improved this ship. You have vastly improved my love for the ship. I didn't even think that was possible. You've done it. And you've done it through subtitles.
Oh, these are great.
So what do we have? Well, we've got IG-8 A, B, C, and D. We've got the aggressive automaton. We've got a brutal battle droid. We've got a conniving contraption. And of course, a deadly device.
So fortunately, English has so many synonyms, we were able to get away with this.
Turns out it's a useful language.
Oh, a lot to our old English poetry.
The ship itself has changed a little. But we'll get into that when we actually get to the IG itself. But
so, I can't speak to all languages, but I know for sure that German was able to maintain the alliterations.
Fantastic.
So hopefully everyone else did too.
Good work, Germans.
So those players that English is not your native language, and you might get the fun alliterations as well. All right.
If
let's
not,
see.
I encourage you to acquire the English language cards for the subtitles alone.
Oh, yes. Well, speaking of cool subtitles, actually, let's go to my favorite card, which is Asajj Ventress.
Oh, yeah, Asajj is great.
So Scum does not have a lot of Force users.
No, appropriately enough. But you know what? A few of those, galactic, or those Clone Wars characters didn't really end up sticking with one side or the other. They kind of went off on their own. And Asajj is really the classic example of that. She had
Someone who went off as a force of her own.
See what you did there. Yeah, no, Asajj is a ton of fun. She's still got that really strong ability. It is leavened a little bit because the defender, if they don't want to take the stress, they can remove that green token. So it's not quite as oppressive as it used to be. But, just having that force rating of 2 is extremely strong on a ship with this much defense, offense, and, hull and shields. The other cool thing is we have these different attack abilities. So the Shadowcaster is no longer a 3 and a 3. It's now a 3 and a 2, which I think is a little bit more appropriate for its mobile arc. It rewards you for getting those front arc shots because you get a higher attack ability. But you still have that flexibility of that turreted arc. So I like Asajj a lot.
Yeah, I picked my favorite card.
Oh, heck yeah.
We were able to touch up on the YB.
Who doesn't love a murder lizard?
the chassis in general.
I love the YV666.
But yeah,
it's
given
a
that
cool,
reinforced
ship.
felt appropriate.
Yep, again, it's a big tanky ship. Its primary thing is to deliver bounty hunters to where they need to go and you know, protect your bounties once you have them against whoever, you know, people, would-be rescuers, other bounty hunters, etc. So reinforce on the YV666 just made a lot of sense. And Bosk still has that really powerful, really fun pilot ability. So remains one of those super scary characters that everybody loves. Who doesn't love a giant lizard?
I don't know. I've never met one.
Captain Kirk.
True. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
All right. Let's see. Where do we want to jump to next?
Yeah, should we just start going through ships?
Yeah, let's do it. What,
Well, let's just get through the Z95 quick.
Sure. Hey, it's a Z95.
oh, look.
Look at that. Distinguished from the Rebel version by having lower initiative for the same points cost, but access to the illicit slot. Same as before. Illicit slots are a lot of fun. Z95 has a few more tricks, but it is, you know, paying more for its pilot skill than the Rebel version. So pretty straightforward. But again, having that red barrel roll makes it a little bit more versatile. So I do like the Z95. It's a good addition to squads. And you know what? Let's just spoil. Did I spoil? I spoiled Marauder already. Let's find Cat Scarlet.
Oh, sure.
Since we can talk about, you know, the advantage of having little support ships. So while Cat Scarlet performs a primary attack, if there is at least one friendly non-limited, and that what non-limited means is does not have that unique dot on the card, roll an additional attack die. Again, additional attack die is hard to come by, but what that really rewards is you can run Cat Scarlet with her gang, the Binary Pirates, and she is rewarded for using those Binary Pirates as, you know, blockers, cannon fodder, you know, trying to ram the enemy ship. So it's a whole strategy you can build around having some support Z95s in the fire spray. So that's a lot of fun. Red Reinforce can keep the fire spray around longer. So that's a pretty fun little list. Seen the dial already. Y-Wing. These are going to be quick and easy. Same deal. Lower initiative, same exact statistics.
Have the access to the illicit slot,
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep, exactly. Pretty straightforward. I'm not sure the Y-Wing does have the illicit slot. I can't remember. But in any case, Scum Y-Wing. It's a Y-Wing. Y-Wings are cool. Scum Hawk. It's a Hawk. Hawks are cool. Access to the Moldy Crow title, because the history of that ship passed through a lot of different owners. So if you want to run the Moldy Crow in Scum, you can do it. If you want to run the Moldy Crow in Rebels, you can do it. And let's spoil a couple of
Let's
the...
do Palob.
Yeah, good old Palob.
Good old Palob.
Same horrifying pilot ability, same brutal approach. But again, this is really illustrating the Scum faction. It's stealing focus tokens. You can bank those focus tokens with the Moldy Crow. So yeah, these are a lot of fun. Yes, Hawks much better in this new edition, and still a lot of fun to fly with those pilot abilities. All right, we've been talking a lot about bounty hunters. Y'all know I love bounty hunters.
Of course.
Who doesn't?
Oh yeah.
And so we really wanted
Who doesn't
to.
love a giant lizard man?
That's right. We wanted to
Alex
focus.
loves a giant lizard man.
Come on, what's not to love? We want.
So much lizard.
So much lizard.
Speaking of, let's just look at the Houndstooth title. So this is pretty familiar to those of you who played the Nash.pup, all 12 of you. This one says one Z95 Headhunter can dock with you. Now we've standardized the docking mechanics. They're a built-in core rulebook mechanic, and so we can do a lot more with them. The rules for docking are all in the rulebook, so we can simply refer to it as docking. So what does docking mean? Well, this means you can start the game with a Z95 docked. It doesn't have to be the Nash.pup. It can be any Z95. You can deliver, Nadru Sulak into the combat, or Kato Lichos, or anybody that you want. But you can also bring the Nash.pup. Now the Nash.pup says you can only deploy via emergency deployment. So you're an escape craft. You can't deploy like the normal Z95s, but your price point's going to be way, way, way lower. You're going to pay far less than a full ship for the Nash.pup. And when you do escape, it has the ship ability. You gain the Houndstooth ability when the Houndstooth is destroyed. So that's same as ever, but a slightly improved version of the Nash.pup and the Houndstooth. You don't have to run the Nash.pup. Other notable bounty hunters, including Slave 1. Now, Imperial Boba Fett is gone, but his legacy lives on, as you can see from the Slave 1 title. The cool thing about this is you can have both Boba Fett pilot abilities on the same ship now. You can get the really versatile power of rerolls at range 1 for enemy ships, but you also get the high initiative maneuvering of Slave 1. So just a strong ability. And hey, that torpedo slot you're all using so often is back.
It's still back. Oh, yeah. While we're talking about it, we can track the dial for the...
yeah, we might as well, right?
as well.
The fire spray is vastly improved. It has 1 turns. It's a medium-based ship. It's much more maneuverable. It's got town rolls. It's more maneuverable. It's more survivable. It's just a much stronger ship, as befitting such a potent bounty hunter as Boba Fett. He's going to fly the best. He's going to think he is the best.
And it's got that red reinforcement.
But he's not a lizard.
No, he's not a lizard.
We've got the Mist Hunter. You get a cannon slot. You get a white barrel roll. That's really quite useful on a medium ship. Very similar to First Edition. And you've got the Punishing One. The Punishing One is rather interesting. While you perform primary attack at the defenders in your front arc, roll an initial attack die. You'll lose your crew slot, and you add an astromech slot. So this is still Dengar's solo piloted ship. It plays in well with his pilot ability. And you all remember the dark days of the contracted scout. Well, we've toned it down substantially. So the dial is not nearly as good as it used to be. It keeps its asymmetry. It has a built-in single directional mobile arc with 2 dice. So again, no more 360-degree coverage. We can return its torpedoes to it now that it has been calmed down a little bit. And you know, if it does turn out to be another crazy thing, we can up its points via the app.
Or take the torpedoes away again.
we could do that, but I think it's a pretty fun little ship when it does have that 1 torpedo slot.
Yeah, I really like the change to the dial, though. It's much more asymmetric.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the original dial, the intent behind it was to force players to play a specific way, but it just turned out to be such a good choice, especially with unhinged astromech, that it kind of defeated the purpose of the dial. So the new one's actually working as intended. The barrel roll is red. The move your arc is red. It has no white arc rotate. So if it wants to change its arc position, it has to take a stress. So again, you have to think ahead with it a lot more. You have to play it a lot more carefully. It's not quite the powerhouse that it used to be. Still a good ship. What else we got?
While we're staying on the bounty hunters, we can jump back to this
here's
one.
your baseline YV666 and the YV66 dial. I believe largely unchanged. Maybe I think it got a green or a blue 3. I'm not sure. Like I said, the 1.0 information has been overwritten. My code has been deleted. We've got the Gan Finesman, the classic Mist Hunter generic. Now, the Mist Hunter is another ship that got the red stop maneuver and a slightly improved dial. A slightly improved stat line, too. It is now a medium ship. It has a little bit more survivability. It has a white jam action, so it's quite good at disrupting the enemy. And the dial's a little bit more generous. Still a lot of red, still kind of a lumbering ship, but hopefully it'll find a much more interesting place in your squad now that it can be costed appropriately. That's the Mist Hunter.
And on the subject of the Mist Hunter,
yes,
we want to mention that there's a set of these titles with some altered versions coming up at the System Open.
That's right. Yeah, these bounty hunter titles, the Slave One, the Punishing One, the Mist Hunter, the Hound's Tooth. These are going to be really cool organized play alt art prizes. So if you're bounty hunter fans, go to some tournaments. There's going to be some really, really cool prizes out there.
Yeah.
Another thing that has changed pretty substantially is the Seek. We have just basically built it as the heavy Seek model with its additional shield and its weapon hardpoint. We were finding that to be far and away the most effective version of the Seek, and because the Scum faction has access to the Z95, didn't really have a role for that unarmed Seek, but it's got the option of a cannon slot, a torpedo, or a missile. And now that torpedoes and missiles are much more effective, I've actually had a lot of success with torpedo-armed Seeks and that kind of thing. It's all built right into the ship. The dial is ever so slightly improved, so it remains a relatively inexpensive but very helpful little addition to a squad.
So related ship from source material.
Yes. So this is one we're going to have to go into a little bit. It's the Kirax. It's got some Talon rolls, and it's got a pretty solid dial. One of the interesting things about 2nd edition is we have made modifications its own icon. Well, it was always an icon, but it actually, in the app, will have the number of modifications.
It's an upgrade with a bar.
Exactly.
It's on the bar.
Yeah, it no longer has to be universally applicable. So the Kirax has 3 upgrade slots, highly customizable.
For modifications specifically.
Yes, it has 3 modification slots. The Interceptor has 2. So it goes sort of back to the Royal Guard title from 1st edition. It has more versatility. The base chassis is very stripped down, but you can add hull, shield, stealth, etc. And some ships will have none. You know, if we have a ship where we're like, well, that ship should never have stealth device. That ship should never have whatever.
Or just a ship that isn't very modifiable thematically.
Right, yeah, thematically they were very, not customizable in canon, so we can take the mod slot off. Again, lets us control things better, lets us give ships their unique identity. And of course the man, the myth,
Talonbane.
the legend.
The Scourge of Tansari.
The Scurrg of Tansari Point. Talonbane Cobra, he's back. His ability is better. He's still super cool. He still blows up really easily. But yeah,
befitting his original appearance.
he is still a ton of fun. Now he's been demoted a little. His initiative is only 5, but that was sort of to make room for true sort of more canonical aces like Fen Rao or what have you. Keep the number. The initiative 6 is super rare.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, by design. So Talonbane got a little bit of a demotion, but he's also a lot better and more cost appropriate in other ways. So Cobra fans, fear not. He remains a force to be reckoned with. Speaking of the cartels, the Black Sun, we have the Kimogila. This was actually, of course, the inspiration for the widespread nature of the Bullseye arc. Most ships, all ships have a Bullseye arc. Few ships have built-in Bullseye abilities, but the Kimogila does. It retains its dead to rights ability. It's very good at that pinpoint targeting.
On the medium base now.
And it's on the medium base now, which makes it a little bit more cumbersome in some ways, but it does allow for some really interesting new strategies, and it just looks, more aesthetically pleasing and appropriate on that base.
This
Dial
thing's a hammer.
dial is slightly improved. Yeah, it's a hammer. It just hits really hard. It's got a fair amount of hull. It's just a beefy, heavy fighter. It's not very maneuverable. It's not very fast.
And
but
if you get directly in front of it, you blow up.
yeah, exactly. So it's a really interesting ship, fun to fly. I'm a fan.
Speaking of mechanics that we like so much, we spread them around.
That's right. Here is the generic Shadowport Hunter. It is your generic Lancer. Just a solid ship, super fast dial, strong choice. And my favorite Scum ship, probably Scum fighter, in terms of aesthetics and playstyle, the StarViper. I was really excited about the very last StarViper Aces pack with that twisty barrel roll. So the cool thing about the StarViper now, the StarViper has to use those twisty barrel rolls. So it gives it a really unique playstyle, gives it a really interesting approach. The dial is slightly improved. It's got a lot more blue maneuvers on it, so it can recover from those Segnor's loops a lot better. It has linked actions, as you can see. It's got linked red focus on its repositional stuff. And I think that's really cool. That gives it a lot of ability to arc dodge, but still retain, fully modified or partially modified attacks, which, as we know, is pretty crucial. So the basic StarViper, really, really strong choice. One of my favorite characters, Prince Shizor, has basically a improved wording of his old ability. He's not the kind of guy who's going to go down without sacrificing an army of goons first. So again, this is where generic Z95s come into play, where big rolling tanks like the YV666 come into play. You can keep Shizor around for the end game where his high initiative is going to shine.
It's very Scum ability too.
Yes, absolutely.
And
then probably my favorite fire spray pilot of all is Guri here. Guri makes use of this new calculate action. Calculate is a new action. It's essentially a focus that can only change one focus result into either a hit or an evade. So it's weaker. But what it lets you do is it lets you play around with stuff. So Guri has weaker actions than your generic StarViper. Calculate is not as good as focus. Linked barrel roll to calculate is not as good as linked barrel roll linked to focus. But at the start of the engagement phase, she can gain a focus token if she's got an enemy at range 0 to 1. So she's a human replica droid in the fluff. She can kind of simulate some of the things that human pilots can do, but only under specific conditions. So she's got some pros and some cons, but she remains a really, really strong pilot and a ton of fun to fly.
And she can get focus and calculate if you stack it up right.
Exactly, yep, and that gives her more defense. So she can have a focus token and a calculate token. She can use the focus on offense or on defense. And it makes her a really strong, really interesting, flexible pilot. So she's one of the top Scum aces. In first edition, she remains the same level of power in second. So really fun. I like her a lot. Fang fighters, I think these have been spoiled already, but they're really solid. Concordia face-off is better than ever. Still rewards hyper-aggression, getting into the enemy's firing arc, dodging arcs if you can. But again, with the removal of Push the Limit, it's not the same kind of repositional power as the Interceptor. It's got different strengths.
Yeah.
It's a little more durable, and it is a little more survivable under specific circumstances. So it's just a very different playstyle, and that's one of the things that we really like about it. Slightly different dial from an Interceptor. It's got Talon rolls instead of Segnor's loops. Doesn't have as much blue. So even though they're both Interceptor class chassis, it's definitely a different beast to fly. So Fang Fighter's really strong, really fun. Quadjumpers have some really fun baked-in tricks.
And they changed a little.
They did change a little.
Just a little.
Just a little. They have the Space Tug Tractor Array built in, because they're tractor boats. That's what they're equipped with, and that's a perfect place for a ship ability. Yeah, why don't you talk a little bit about what's changed?
Well, the big thing is that reverse 2.
Yeah, that's an interesting maneuver, right? Like, it makes sense for a tugboat. You want to be able to tractor something up and pull it into dock. So it's one of the few ships in the game that can actually kind of hover around in the same place. It can go forwards and backwards. It remains super flexible. And tractor tokens are a really potent force. So again, it rewards you getting in that bullseye arc, getting close. You can tractor more effectively. You can hit medium ships. You can hit large ships. Unkar Plut, we'll spoil him.
Our miserly portion master.
That's right, 1/4 portion. And also at range 0, have a tractor token. So again, he's a pro and a con. You don't want to be touching him with your own ships, but
he's a bully.
He is. That's right. He's gonna mess you up. So he's fun. The Quadjumper, not super flexible, not super survivable, but a very strong support ship and a really huge disruptive force, for your enemies.
That's a very scummy support ship because it's not so much helping your allies as making your enemies miserable.
People were curious about the Scurrg. Scurrg retains its double bomb ability. It has a barrel roll now. It's still got a pretty good dial. It's still got a lot of health. It's just a strong fighter bomber. It remains a potent force. No longer available to the rebels. It's one of the few ships that transitioned from one faction to another entirely.
And it also jumped size.
Yeah, we've gotten some requests for Dengar. Of course, he's a powerhouse. Here's a medium Captain Nim. Dengar remains a force to be reckoned with. After you defend, if the attacker is in your front arc, you may spend a charge, that means it's once per round, to perform a bonus attack against the attacker. So, you can track it a little bit more easily. Dengar has no built-in front arc. You have to have that. You either have to have your mobile arc positioned in the forward position, or you have to have those torpedoes equipped, because you can send a torpedo back at you. Still a really nasty pilot ability, still really frightening at pilot skill or at initiative 6, but a lot more under control than he was in first edition. So he keeps that flavor, but he's been chilled out a little bit. And here's his crew card, sort of keeping that reprisal theme going. I'll leave that up for a while for you to absorb. We'll look at some crew cards here.
We didn't.
Let's show off your favorite thing.
Yeah, that's right. We still have the IGs. So again, this is another ship that really plays into those calculate tokens. One of the things that I like about the new IG-88A is it can pass calculate tokens around. So this means it's not limited to just other IG-88s. It can pass calculate tokens to 4LOM. It can pass calculate tokens to Guri. You can build kind of a droid army and try to support that. If you will. Or you can do the classic, as we just saw, world's winning, double IG list. IG-88B still gives you that bonus cannon attack. cannons have been calmed down a little bit, but you know, the list that won was a control list. So it still has the classic IG-2000 to gain double pilot abilities thing, so you can season your list to choice. It still has the power of IG-88C, which is after you boost, you get that evade action. But again, it's an action, so you have to make sure that you can complete it. You can't be stressed to do it. And finally, we have Segnor. IG-88D wasn't seeing a lot of play, but this deadly device has been improved in 2nd edition, so it's a little bit more flexible with those repositional styles. So I think that the double IG list will continue to be strong and fun to fly. They're on a medium base now. That really changes things up. And their dial remains excellent. It is still one of the most blue dials in the game. He's not an organic life form. He doesn't have to worry about those G-forces or those issues.
And let's explain Calculate quickly. So Calculate is essentially crappier focus.
Yeah,
Calculate
much
is
all
a
it
weaker
is.
version of focus, but this is really important. It is weaker at the outset, but as you see with the IGs, they have their advanced droid brain.
Yes, so under most circumstances, when you do the calculate action, you actually end up with 2 calculate tokens.
Yes.
That's better than a focus token 98% of the time.
So what it does, what Calculate does normally is it's a focus. Calculate is essentially a focus that can only change one of your results. Right. But now suddenly with that advanced droid brain, you get 2, you can change results on 2 different rolls.
Yes, that improves your defense substantially. And it means that you can improve both offense and defense on the same turn. You don't usually roll more than 1 focus result on a single die roll. And you almost never roll triple eyes. So in most circumstances, having 2 calculate tokens is a little bit better than having 1 focus token, but not all. So that's an interesting facet to droids. And what it lets us do is it lets us play around with those mechanics. And,
yeah,
and
a great
do stuff
example
with
is
that.
Guri. Guri being able to get 2 focus would probably be way too strong.
Right.
But Guri being able to get a focus and a calculate, that's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Right.
We've got some more crew here. We've got Jabba the Hutt, another double crew classic crime lord. Lets you keep your illicits going a little bit longer. He's a little simpler in this edition. Everything's built in. He doesn't have to put upgrades up on there. So Jabba's a lot of fun. He can support a squad that's built around illegal goods and illicit technology. Bosk is a gunner now. Bosk is still the raging lizard monster we all know and love. After you perform a primary attack that misses, if you are not stressed, you must receive a stress token to perform a bonus primary attack against the same target. He doesn't like to miss. Stresses him out, but he gets another crack at it.
I mean, I like that fist shaking.
And again, he's a new slot, so he can go into ships with a gunner slot, which is pretty helpful.
And why don't we talk about how tractoring works quickly?
Sure.
Which segues nicely actually with this next card. Which
yeah, so tractor tokens are orange tokens here, and basically what they do is that means they go away at the end of the round.
So orange and green are sort of similar, and then blue and red are sort of similar in that they go away at other timings.
That's right, that's right. And tractor tokens in 2nd edition, it takes 1 token to move a small ship. They're easier to manipulate. It takes 2 tokens to move a medium ship, and it takes 3 tokens to move a large ship. So it's really hard to use tractor beams on large ships, but Ketsu Annual lets you pile them up. And of course, as we know, barrel rolling a large ship is not something you could do in 1st edition. You can do it now, but it takes some setup, and it's really, really strong. If you can throw them onto a rock, you can put them into a bad position. So things like the Space Tug Tractor Array, the Shadowcaster, Ketsu Anyo Crew, there's a tractor beam cannon. So tractor beams are a little harder to pull off on large ships than on small ships, but even large ships can be maneuvered if you pile up enough tokens. And that's one of the cool things about the new mechanics.
And also noteworthy, a subtle change, but now I believe the person who places the tractor token actually gets to move the ship.
That's right. So that is a subtle change, but you can tractor your own ships for positional advantage.
So the Space Tug Tractor Arrays don't need to specifically say you can tractor your own ships.
That's right.
They just let you do it, and then you get to throw them around.
Also, it reduces the draw.
So yeah, we're getting towards the end here. Are there any cards that you guys want to show off while we've got this live stream going? Is there anything out there in the community that people are desperate to see? We'll check out a couple more.
I'd like to show off my favorite astromech.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty much unchanged. But But he does illuminate something.
This is the perfect Scum card, really.
Yes.
You're like, how is this useful? Is this useful? Also, that's really mean. Like, whose droid is this? But you know, there's obviously some built-in cases. There's Dead Man Switch is still in the game. There's these corner cases where it's actually advisable to backstab your own allies in order to get advantage, and what could be scummier, really.
And another thing it illuminates is that you'll notice it doesn't let you lock your allies anymore, and that's because it doesn't have to, because you can already do that.
You can you can target lock allies, you can target lock friendly ships and obstacles as well. So we're going to show you. We're just going to spoil all the Scum Hawks because
they're fun.
They're a cult classic from first edition. A lot of Hawk boosters out there who are sort of drawn to its flaws as well as its joys.
I think they still will be.
Yeah, I think so too. It's got a really interesting character, but it's much more effective as a baseline ship, and the pilot abilities are just as good as ever. Yeah, Dace Bonearm is improved.
I will say one thing about Dace is it lets us play with that space of having recurring charges and a cap that's larger. So his ability requires you to spend all 3, but you recover 1 each turn. So you can do it every once in a while. It's not an all-the-time ability.
It charges back up. It has to, you know, you have to pick your rounds carefully because you're not going to have access to it every round.
So we'll have a few other cards that have that similar effect where they kind of are on a timer of sorts, that they have a cooldown, if you will, that you can use them, they'll charge back up and use them again. So that's a fun use of that space.
We should show an illicit because
that's a good idea.
It's a faction-defining thing.
Indeed.
And I want to show off Forlom because he's still one of my.
Oh, sure.
Forlom. We'll do a couple more, and we'll wrap it up.
I think we should show off this guy because he's one of.
My
favorite
designs. That card's crazy. Card is crazy.
Forlom pilot or crew?
There we go.
Sure.
That'll do. Pilot, please. All right, well, while we dig that up, I want to show off another one of the very rare Scum faction Force users. And one of the really cool things about this card is, you know, it has some thematic tie-ins. You can put them in either in a Scum list or in a list with Ezra Bridger, appropriately enough. So you can kind of get that you know, tempted by the dark side mechanic on the table, and he recovers force charge if he's damaged. So he's very, very helpful. And if you put him on a Ezra pilot ship, that increases Ezra's force rating, which is going to let him survive a little longer, use his ability more.
And synergizes with Ezra's stress-related stuff.
Yes, absolutely. Also, you can equip dark side force upgrades. We haven't spoiled any of those yet, but that offers even more list building potential. So that's a lot of fun. And then my favorite bounty hunting duo, I just wanted to show off Zuckuss and Forlom. I think Forlom has one of the nastiest, most effective, trolliest abilities in the entire game.
Probably about as trolly as we want to let any ability be.
Yeah, it's really high up there. And of course, the G1A dial is full of red. But that becomes a pro instead of a con, especially since he's got the zero stop maneuver. Forlom remains really good. And Zuckuss remains really good as well. You can get stressed with Zuckuss and pass it off with Forlom. So they're a really great pair. Huge fan of those two. Show you a couple of illicit upgrades. These are classics from first edition. Cloaking device is a little bit better. It doesn't break immediately. It has 2 charges. It's still not as reliable as a dedicated ship like the Phantom. It's still kind of kludged together. Exactly. So it's still very scummy, but it's a little less vulnerable to like random generation of a bad result. You can keep it around a little longer, so it's a little more interesting. Dead Man Switch, same as it ever was. Really super great.
It's a great card.
My favorite art in the game, probably. I just love it so much.
That Gran getting ready.
Look at that guy. He's in it.
Oh yeah.
In it to win it.
And then here's another, one last ability. Moralo Evol, his cool Crimson YV666. He's got a really crazy setup-based ability.
Yeah, Frank, you want to talk about this? You designed this. This is one of my favorite of your designs.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this idea of being able to pretend like you died or that kind of effect. So yeah, it's enjoy being able to play with other aspects of the game that we just haven't touched, but we're always kind of ready for us to be able to interface with. So having charges allows you to do an ability that we just couldn't have done in first edition, because it's like, how could you possibly track? I mean, you could just remember you've done it or not, but...
And having reserve.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, reserves
That's
are a
true.
whole new
That's true.
concept. We haven't gone into that much, but
That's a good
it's more design space. You can put stuff into reserve and bring it out of reserve. That's
Yep.
how docking works.
Exactly.
That's how various setup abilities work.
Fett.
So Boba
Yep,
Fett,
Boba
exactly. Boba Fett crew. So, wow, a lot of stuff. Holy crap, my voice is gone. Thank you so much for joining us. We're super psyched for this. We hope you are too. Hopefully we gave you a really good taste of what's to come. I've been Alex Davey.
I've been Frank Brooks.
I guess we still are.
I was going to say, and I hope to continue to be next round.
All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Whoa, so I've got to say, this is probably the biggest lot of changes. I mean, so much from this one to try and like get my head around. There's all of the bounty hunters with, I don't know, recruits and titles, and there's quite a lot in there to try and decompress. The Calf Scarlet like themed list seemed pretty interesting with the Binary Pirates and like the subtitles, and just making it easier to build more fluffy lists like that. The Marauder title tying in, just giving Calf that little bit more like of a synergistic feeling. What else was there? Was so much. The Jump Master changes, that dial being properly asymmetrical now, not having the right swoop at all. Maybe getting its torpedo swap back, that'll be interesting. I was really excited to see Guri is now a higher pilot skill than Prince Caesar, so that should be fun. Seeing how she plays now, if she's going to be the top level pilot. The IGs, I mean, they showed them at the start, and just lots of stuff going into that calculate token, the amount of token stacking you might be able to do with different actions. Looks really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to getting these on the table. There's so much stuff you can try and do. That YV666 looks really, really interesting, challenging. It's a ship I already enjoy flying, so I'm looking forward to getting on the table. Seeing how Morello handles being able to fly off from like this corner down here. So you fly off here, then you fly back in up here. Yeah, that's right. Or I don't know. I've lost it now. I'm going crazy. You deploy in the corner, hard turn off, and then the next turn you can come back on. Looks like really weird and interesting. Just all the stuff you can do with that. There's just so much. It's an exciting time. I'm really looking forward to even more 2.0 stuff. I'm going to be making more content, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel and are checking back. If you enjoyed this video, don't just give it a like for me. Go to FFG's game, Facebook page, Twitter. Shoot any attention you can at them. Let them know how much we enjoy this type of content from them. I feel like it's fun and engaging from them doing this type of thing for community. And finally, I just wanted to thank everyone who supports me on my Patreon and everyone else who watches the videos, shares the videos. I really appreciate all of your support, folks. Thank you, and I'll see you on the next one.